Today, we will be talking about bumblebees and their unique reproduction and nesting behavior. Although a threatened species, bumblebees are the most common type of bee, with over 200 different species found around the world. Its genus is Bombus, and species varies depending on what bee is studied. We will be addressing the hibernation capabilities of this species and the subcategories within reproduction, including the uniqueness of bumblebees' nests, their location, how they are made, and their size. After emerging and when looking for a place to build a nest, bumblebees will look for specific locations and environmental factors that constitute good conditions for a colony to flourish. Although there is variation among species, most bumblebees will choose to form their colonies away from direct sunlight, often using old, underground burrowing animal nests as structures for their own. The major priority of bumblebees is to prevent the nest from overheating, so even when species that build above the ground will do so in trees or tall grasses. These nests look very different from honeybee hives and are much smaller, containing only about 50 to 400 bees. In comparison to honeybees, a major difference is that they do not have hexagonal-shaped combs. Rather, they look like bunches of bullet-shaped wax cells clustered in a disorganized way.
When the weather gets too cold for bees to function, bumblebees will go into hibernation for the winter. Unlike honeybees, the only bumblebees in the colony that survive the duration of winter through hibernation are the queen bees. The mated queens will construct a small nest underground that only has the space to fit her for survival. Unfortunately, the rest of the colony of bees will die as a result of the cold. They do not possess the ability to fly south like birds. They then enter a stage known as diapause, which is a period of dormancy or suspended development for insects during adverse environmental conditions such as the cold. During this time, she will produce a very small amount of the chemical glycerol to keep her from freezing while she is underground. When conditions are optimal for the process of reproduction to start in the spring, the queen bumblebees will emerge from their subterranean nests.
Bumblebees breed in nests, and unlike honeybees, they do not make organized combs for their brood. Instead, they make little cups made of wax with pollen inside to lay their eggs in. The queen can fit 5 to 15 eggs in each cup. Like birds, bumblebees brood their eggs to keep them warm. The eggs are kept at about 86 degrees. After about 4 days, the eggs hatch. The larvae grow and pupate, then emerge as adults after 4 to 5 weeks. The queen only feeds and cares for the first brood. Once the first group of workers mature, the queen will not leave the nest anymore. Her job is only to lay eggs. The workers will do everything else. Through the spring, the queen will lay only fertilized eggs that will become workers. Once the queen starts laying unfertilized eggs, she stops producing the pheromone that instructs the workers to raise fertilized eggs as workers. So all fertilized eggs laid after the drones will be raised as queens. Drone bumblebees, like honeybees, have only one function in life, which is to mate. They fly in a circuit, depositing a queen-attracting pheromone in suitable mating places. New queens emerge about a week or so after the males. When they are ready to mate, they will fly to where the drone pheromone is and wait for a suitable mate. Most queens only mate once, but some species mate up to 3 times. Mating usually takes place while resting on the ground and lasts from 10 to 80 minutes. After mating, the new queens will hibernate until spring.
We hope you learned something new about bumblebees that you hadn't previously known.